Hello and welcome to Health Matters on Channels Television. Thanks for joining us. I am Mary Alale Yusuf. There are over 53 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 globally as at November the 13th. Almost 34.5 million people have recovered, and the number of deaths is over 1.3 million. In Nigeria, there were a total of 64,884 infections, out of which 60,936 have recovered, and 1,163 have died. That means we have over 3,000 active cases. Recovery rate is about 94%. Case fatality rate is about 1.8%. And 697,544 samples have been tested. We're talking about pneumonia today. Pneumonia is an infection of the lungs caused by viruses, bacteria, or fungi. It can cause the small air sacs in the lungs to fill with fluid, making breathing difficult. Most people who contract COVID-19 have mild to moderate symptoms, like a cough, while a few get severe pneumonia in both lungs. This is a serious condition. My guest is an associate professor of pediatrics at the University of Lagos and currently the secretary of the Pediatric Association of Nigeria Committee on Childhood Pneumonia. He advises the Lagos University Teaching Hospital in matters of child health and disease. Thanks for coming. I know that you're more than that, but it will take the whole show to say everything that you are. So before we delve into pneumonia proper, I just want to knock off a few, questions about yellow fever. We've had yellow fever with us for so long. So why does it look like a shock? They call it a strange disease, is ravaging a place. And then they find out that it's yellow fever. Why is it taking us by storm like that?
So thank you very much, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in. Like you said, yellow fever has always been with us worldwide, while a big part of the world have succeeded in more or less eradicating yellow fever. For many countries in Africa, more than half of the countries in Africa, and some of the countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, yellow fever is still a problem. And yellow fever, yes, it could be endemic. Endemic means it's almost every day is there, but every now and then we have an epidemic. And so usually in the first few days, few weeks of that epidemic, it's not usually recognizable.
Okay.
In the sense that the symptoms in the early phase of it, not different from the symptoms of malaria, not different from the symptoms of other viral illnesses. But one classic thing about it, which doesn't happen in everybody, is that some few days, few weeks later, some people may develop a fever. So in the early phase, it may not be easily recognized, develop yellowness of the eyes,
Okay, that's when they know something
So
is
by
different.
the time the yellowness of the eye starts appearing, and then you can relate back, few days ago, few weeks ago, this person was ill and all the rest. Then you start suspecting yellow fever. But Nigeria is well equipped to make the diagnosis. We have reference labs that could make the diagnosis. Okay,
so we have a vaccine for yellow fever. So why are we having so many cases?
A very effective vaccine for
that lasts
matter.
For life.
For life. This is one vaccine that you would say a single shot protects almost everybody that receives it and protects them for life. So you would wonder, why do we still have a big chunk of our population that is vulnerable? In the early 2000s, Nigeria introduced yellow fever into routine childhood immunization. So at 9 months, we expect that every child in Nigeria, the same time they are getting their measles vaccine, also get a shot of the yellow fever. And so as a result of that, a big chunk of our children may not be vulnerable to yellow fever. The people that travel out of this country must go with a yellow fever vaccine card, show a yellow fever card. And we expect that almost all of them should have received the vaccine before they get it. So they're also covered. But the big chunk of the adult population, the most productive sector of the society, are not covered because they haven't received this vaccine. But since 2017, the government, together with all the developmental partners like WHO, have been conducting what we call mass yellow fever vaccination campaigns.
Okay.
I know this year the COVID and the pandemic meant they needed to stop, but in recent weeks they have started again to immunize the past. So I think the take-home message here is that whenever you hear the government is giving yellow fever vaccine in your community, in your state, please avail yourself, because this vaccine is 100% effective, and you need a single shot.
Okay, on that note, let's delve into pneumonia. Apparently, there's a connection between pneumonia and COVID. Can you throw some light on that?
Okay, so what is pneumonia? Pneumonia means an infection, like you said, the small air sacs in our lungs. So an infection of the small air sacs in our lung where exchange of gases take place. It's what we call pneumonia. It's what we call pneumonia. So any organism that finds its way to that otherwise sterile part of our lungs would evoke a response from the body.
Okay.
More like a fight, because it's an intruder. That fight means that a lot of white cells to fight the infection, a lot of fluid, and a lot of damage would happen to that air sac, such that temporarily that air sac is unable to do its primary responsibility, which is the exchange of gases. The virus that causes COVID, in those people with moderate to severe symptoms of COVID, the virus gets to that lung, that same air sac. Why? Because the particular receptor that virus requires to enter human cells are most abundant in the lungs.
Oh, wow.
So the virus gets there, and the body mounts a response against, that's the coronavirus, and you end up with damage. So when people have COVID, the moderate, the severe, and the critically ill one leading to death, leading to need for ventilation, oxygenation, it is because COVID has caused pneumonia in them.
So, wait a minute. Are you saying that everybody who has COVID that gets to the stage of using a ventilator or maybe oxygen
has pneumonia?
Has pneumonia?
Has a COVID pneumonia. That's why the lungs are not able to exchange the gases. That's why the person has needs for oxygen.
So we can effectively say now that
yes,
pneumonia is caused by viruses, fungi, bacteria, and COVID.
Correct. So this year alone, or by the time we are done with COVID, the number of people dying from pneumonia would have increased by up to 2 million as a result of COVID pneumonia.
That is a very sobering thought.
It is.
Very, very sobering. Somebody who has pneumonia from COVID, does it have the same symptoms as the regular pneumonia?
So let's look at the symptoms of COVID again. They have a fever, they cough, they feel unwell, they may have difficulty in breathing, some of them may go into shock. We know some other people have, they lost their sense of taste and smell. And then they are generally very tired, they are breathless. Maybe if we take away the loss of sense of taste and smell, all the other things I've mentioned are the things you get when you have pneumonia.
But even that loss of taste and smell does happen sometimes.
It does.
People have a cold. It
does.
Happens.
It does. So the symptoms
different.
And signs are the same thing.
All right.
And what it means, every effort we expend to control COVID, we should remember to extend it to the many people dying from pneumonia every day that as a people, as the public, we are not aware of it.
You know, that's the concern. Babies get pneumonia.
And die from it.
Is it possible? I know that there hasn't been a lot of little children dying from COVID. It's mostly elderly people, people with underlying problems and all that. But if a baby were to get pneumonia, is it possible that some of them have masqueraded as pneumonia and were COVID.
Okay, so let me put it this way. Yes, most of the people that have died from COVID are adults.
Yes.
Most. However, most of the people that may eventually die because of COVID, not necessarily directly because of COVID, would include hundreds and thousands of children.
Why do you say that?
With COVID, we had lockdown. With lockdown meant maternal and newborn and child health services like routine immunization. Because in Nigeria, the government gives vaccines that protect the majority of children from developing severe pneumonia.
But lots of them were not going for those vaccines.
But the few that were going, the 50 or so percent that were going, could not have access throughout this year to go into those health facilities for many reasons that we know, to receiving these vaccines. What it means, in some few months' time, we should expect to see spikes from the routine pneumonia and deaths from pneumonia. Not only that, with COVID, with loss of earning power at both the government level and the household level, it means many households really can't afford to even give their children basic food. The immediate impact of that is malnutrition.
Yes.
And malnutrition is one of the number one leading predisposition to developing the routine pneumonia we are talking about and actually from dying from it. So yes, COVID does not or have not directly affected children as it has the adult population. But we will not be deceived because it has disrupted completely all the child survival interventions we have in place.
Can we get back on track with those? For those who missed their immunizations, is there any way?
So as lockdown has been lifted up, so we need to, and I think that's part of the reason why we are here today, to tell the public, please, every vaccine you have mixed, please go back to your health center. The health workers there know that they need to give you those vaccines, and they would give you those vaccines because we need to protect these children from COVID. So let's look at it.
So in other words, you're late, but it's not bad. You can still get your vaccine.
COVID has only killed 1,000 plus children, 1,000 plus persons in Nigeria.
Yes.
This year alone, even without COVID, at least 100,000 children will die in Nigeria alone.
In Nigeria.
Will die in Nigeria alone before their 50th birthday.
Why?
100,000. So that's the size of a local government.
Why do we have to go through this?
No, nobody's aware of it because it hasn't made the headlines like COVID. But every year, including this year, at least 100,000 children will not reach their 5th birthday because of pneumonia.
Straight question. If a child gets his pneumococcal vaccine, will he be free of pneumonia from other causes?
Okay, so let's talk about the common causes of childhood pneumonia. Like you rightly mentioned, the viruses are there. But like with most viruses, we don't have vaccines. Good.
That's true.
The bacteria causes are there. The two most important bacteria causes are the ones you mentioned, the pneumococcus, covered by the pneumococcal conjugate vaccine, and Haemophilus influenza is a bacteria also, covered in the penta. That vaccine they call penta vaccine that we give at 6 weeks, 10 weeks, and 14 weeks. That vaccine contains also hemophilus. By receiving these two vaccines, very expensive vaccines, but the vaccines that the government and the development partners are giving free in Nigeria, most children, we might be saving probably half the number of people that will die from pneumonia. Because if they receive those vaccines, 3 doses, we know they are protected. By the time they are 4 or 5 years, we know that they've passed the most vulnerable age group. So if there's any message we would want to pass on, and here I'm talking about because we're here because of the Nigeria Medical Association and also the Pediatric Association of Nigeria. If there's one message we want to pass out to the public, is that in Nigeria, the government is giving these highly effective vaccines
free of charge.
Free of
on
charge.
that
Please
note,
avail
let's
your
go on a
children of
break.
it.
Let's take a very short break right now. We'll be back in almost no time. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Health Matters, and we're talking about pneumonia and COVID-19. The number to call is 0808-054-2233 if you have a question on pneumonia or COVID-19 or both. You can also tweet at CTV_Mary A while the program goes on for the rest of the stretch. You said 100,000 people
At least.
this year. So with a pneumococcal vaccine and the Penta, how many can be saved of those 100,000?
We would say, so for the unfortunate thing for Nigeria is that if I take a sample of 1 to 2 year olds in Nigeria, only 42% of those children have received 3 doses of this vaccine that government is giving free of charge.
Okay.
And with these vaccines, in concert with other things, including exclusive breastfeeding.
Aha.
Exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of life. You know how many Nigerians are doing that?
Very few, I gather.
Very few. Very few. There is this wrong conception, understanding that water needs to be given to these children, that infant formula needs to be given.
Are you saying that? Okay, wait, hang on.
Yes.
They are giving their children breast milk.
A lot are giving breast
and
milk.
water.
And water.
And the water is spoiling it for you.
The water will spoil it because it will predispose these children to diarrhea.
Okay.
And if these children, because when you introduce water into this feeding, let's ask ourselves, what are our sources of water, drinking water in this country? How much can you vouch for them? I'm looking at the average Nigerian.
Let's say she boils it and distills it.
And then she boils it. So boiling means she needs money for fuel, isn't it? Boiling means boiling with firewood. Firewood puts our children at risk of pneumonia.
Let's take Raymond on the phone first, and we'll come back to that. Hello, Raymond. Oh, Amos.
Hello.
What's your question?
Yeah, my question is, somebody is having cold, very serious cold. I just want to know what is the solution to it. Whether that is pneumonia.
Okay. If somebody has a cold, what's the solution? Is it pneumonia? So in other words, is it cold pneumonia?
Okay, so I mean, my understanding is that cold, you mean the person has cough and catarrh. So cough, catarrh, a fever alone doesn't qualify as pneumonia.
Okay.
We all from time to time get it. Most children would get up to 3, 4, 5 in a year. That is not pneumonia. But when that child with cough, catarrh, fever starts breathing fast,
Aha.
what that tells you that there is air hunger. The
But
lungs.
you know that happens with a lot of things, not just pneumonia.
So that happens whenever you see somebody breathing fast, especially when the child is sleeping and you've observed the child is breathing fast. You come another 5-10 minutes time, this child is still breathing fast, and the child has a fever, has cough, catarrh. We would say you are almost 100% sure that the child has a pneumonia. You must get to the hospital as quickly as possible. The health
Do you
facility.
know what mothers do?
So
They
many
give
things.
the child paracetamol.
They give the child paracetamol.
Probably tepid sponge.
Tepid
and still
sponge.
wait.
Yes, the reason why they are doing that is like you have a tree that is undermining your fence.
Are
Your
you saying this is
perimeter
a red
fence.
flag? Rush to the hospital.
If your child has fever, cough, catarrh, or has catarrh, and you notice your child is breathing fast, or is breathing with some difficulty, or is feeding poorly, or sleeping excessively,
much.
you must go to the hospital immediately.
Let
Otherwise,
me see if we still have any.
we have troubles on our hands.
Hello, Anita, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So what's your question? You're welcome.
Yeah, I usually hear, people usually say that when a child is exposed to very cold weather, that the child would have pneumonia. Please, is this true?
Okay, thank you so much, Anita. Doctor will tackle that.
So thank you very much. And that is a very important question, and I'm happy you asked it. Does cold weather,
Cause
cold
pneumonia.
environment, does it cause pneumonia? So let me answer it this way. Viruses thrive in cold environment.
Okay.
Viruses
That makes sense.
thrive in cold environment, but that does not mean because of the cold you have a pneumonia. I think the word cold, we probably borrowed it from maybe the British and all the rest, because they know during this very cold weather, they come down with their influenza and all the rest. So cold weather, doesn't cause pneumonia. The message we want to pass across is that pneumonia is caused by germs, just like COVID. Pneumonia spreads like COVID.
Okay.
So
what's
using
our
an air
prevention?
conditioner doesn't cause COVID. It doesn't cause pneumonia, just the same way it doesn't cause COVID. So we need to make that distinction. Yes, you may come down with a viral catarrh, a viral illness, which you do not require antibiotics for. And I think that's a message we also want to pass across, because most people, when they have cough catarrh, no fever, no breathing fast, they want to start antibiotics. No, we're saying don't start an antibiotic.
Let's take this call from Runke.
Yes.
Hello, Runke.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. What's your question?
Yes. My question is my question is basically on COVID-19.
Go ahead.
COVID-19. Yes. For some days now, I've not been feeling anything in the house. I've not been smelling anything in the house. If I put food in my mouth, I don't feel the taste. I don't feel the taste. If I put food in my mouth, I don't feel the taste. So although I have been on drugs, I've been on medications, I wanted to go for tests. I don't know which labs I should go. If my children too are having fever, but everything is under control now. But yet, I can't smell anything. So I want to know if truly there are a real sign of COVID-19 or something.
All right, let's quickly answer that question.
Okay, so I got some parts, but if LUT is accessible to you, we'll be happy to run your test any day, Monday to Saturday in LUT, preferably during working hours. NIMA is there, and there are some designated So I would strongly advise that you come, you visit any of these facility and get your test done. I'm happy that your children have recovered, but we know that please, if you come in, always wear your face mask because we owe our neighbors, our friends, the benefit of also protecting them.
Does she have to fill any sort of form online before she goes?
It varies from facility to facility. In LUT, you just show up. If you show up, today is already Saturday. If you show up on Monday morning, we'll run your test for you.
Excellent. So please, Runke, show up on Saturday, at least
Monday.
For your sake, on Monday, for your sake, to just know what your status is. What's going to happen if COVID-19 doesn't go? What does pneumonia look like with COVID-19 as part of our lives?
So what COVID has done for us, so COVID is bad news for everybody because of the havoc it has wreaked. But there are lessons we can learn from there. For once, everybody now sees the very close relationship between health and wealth. Wealth at every level. Wealth at the government level, community level, and down to the household level. And so one immediate message is that we must take our health seriously. If we don't take our health seriously, we are not in a position to benefit from any, Secondly, for the first time at the national level, the private sector, the organized private sector, and the government are in partnership to keep COVID under control. We would want to advocate that partnership should be extended to other health issues. Like I said, COVID has only killed 1,000 plus in Nigeria. Childhood pneumonia
So
would
in
kill
other words, it should
100,000.
extend to pneumonia.
The ventilators, the medical oxygen,
I'm
the
afraid
pulse
we have to go at this
oximeters
time.
should be made available also.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful place to drop it, even though we can pick it up some other time. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you very much for being with us. And thanks for calling. I know so many of you call. But we got Amos, we got Eniton and Runke. Thank you for calling. Have a great week, everybody. I'm Mary Alale Yusuf.